Hello, David,
Hello,
and
Jeremiah.
welcome to the God of Theory podcast. This is episode 16, and we're going to talk about spirituality. No, we're not. I hate that term, spirituality, in the group of non-believers.
Oh
Ah,
no, but don't you ever feel the spirit? Don't you feel spiritual when you see like an ocean or a mountain or hear an orchestra?
no, I have a rush of emotions that's easily explained. I'm sorry. It's awkward. Spiritual. It's just more of that language of like, the God of the gaps. Now it's a spirituality of the gaps. And why is that picking up steam in like California and stuff? Can we just get past that?
I'm
Can we
not
evolve?
religious, but I'm spiritual.
Good. Well, I'm not. Fuck you. Yeah, this week we're going to be talking about a couple different things. One is some very real shit that happened to David, some very real shit that happened to me, and some very real shit that happened to Amy. So it should be a good one.
Yes.
Um, First of all, we've also got a guest lined up coming up pretty soon. Russell Glasser's agreed to join us. He's one of the co-hosts of the Atheist Experience, that Dallas TV show that probably everyone's heard of on the internet if you're non-believer at all. So he's agreed to join us, talking about either just shooting the shit, depending on how the conversation goes, or just talking about engaging people in general. One of the things that drew me to him, and now I think we're like internet friends. We were almost real friends. I almost met up with him in real life, but when I was running a race, I didn't time though. But he's a good guy. I like him. One of the things I liked about him was that how he talked to believers who would call in. He seemed like he was actually engaging them and like attempting to change their mind rather than just lampooning them like some people do.
Mm-hmm.
So not that that's all the people do. That's just something that like I've noticed about him that seems a little bit different. But anyway, so what's up, David? How you been, buddy?
Good. Sorry we are recording late. I was delayed by Steak and Shake incompetence.
Steak and shake incompetence. What do you mean?
So I was off doing some last minute splurging. I was looking for that game we were talking about on our other show, Legendary. It's a card game where you play as Marvel superheroes cooperatively, which I'm all about. Every part of that sentence makes me happy.
Okay.
But I couldn't find it anywhere, so I finally tracked it down. I was like, I don't know, Barnes & Noble. One last place. I stopped at every friendly local game store. One guy was like, yeah, I just sold my last one 2 hours ago. What? Ah, curse you, non-existent powers that be that govern my fate. So I was like, I don't know, I'll try Barnes & Noble. So I go in there. And on the way there, there's like this guy, and he's doing the the homeless sit where you just kind of sit and kind of look sad as people walk by. And
Yeah, that's also the graduate student set.
yes, so you're aware, you're familiar with it. Um, he's like, hey brother, can I trouble you for a minute? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, I just got out of prison 2 weeks ago. I don't have any place to live, and I'm just really hungry. I was wondering if you could help me get dinner. And I was like, I don't have any cash because it's 2015 and we've moved beyond.
Hang on, did you immediately judge him based
Yeah, I
on
did.
the what's that doctrine that
Prosperity
if you're not
doctrine.
rich,
Yeah.
prosperity doctrine?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, well,
So,
if God wanted you to have a sandwich, you'd be eating right now, my friend. So you should get your soul right before you come talking to me.
right, natural. So what happened? Did
No,
he get
I
instantly
looked
more
across the
rich?
street and I was like, "Oh, there's a Steak and Shake." Yeah, hey, listen, man, I'm gonna go splurge and buy like a $64 board game because money has no value to me. So yeah, obviously I'm gonna get him some food. So I'm like, "Hey, wait right there. I'll be right back, and I'll get you something from Steak and Shake." And he's like, "Okay." So I go in, I spend way too much money on a bunch of cards, and then I come back out. And I'm like, what do you like on your burger? He's like, oh, bacon and ketchup and mustard. Oh, can I get a soda too? And he's just getting like all excited. And I'm like, yeah, man,
And you're
whatever.
just like, no. Hey,
no.
look at me.
Said I'd
Look at
give
me.
you a hamburger.
No.
No. Get a job, you
I'm sorry.
damn
Did you make eye contact? Deal's off. Yeah.
But anyway, I take his order. I go to Steak and Shake. It was so... The line just didn't move. I was there for 15 minutes. And then I came back. I handed him the food. And he's like, oh, thanks, man. Thanks. You're the best. I'm like, oh, no worries, man. No worries. And then as soon as I hand it out, I'm rolling up the window. I'm like, here's your fries. Here's your drink. Here's your burger. It's got bacon on it. Everything you want. And as soon as I'm rolling up the window, the last thing I hear is, God bless. And I'm like, thanks. Thanks.
Was
you
it
too.
was it God who did that? I don't know. I just spent like 15 fucking of my own minutes in line.
I know. I'm not like Mr. Philanthropy. I don't like do a lot of charity work, but whenever I do, I always get a God bless, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah. Oh, imagine if you were a physician, like, or a surgeon, and you're like, all right, it was messy, but I was up for 24 hours, but we got the heart transplant to work. And they're like, God bless him. God bless him. You're like, also, I did that thing with my hands for like 24 hours. I just talked about it. I don't know how you missed that. Oh.
I'm marathoning House right now, and
Yeah.
there's a scene where this woman comes in, like her husband's got like locked in syndrome, it's like pretty messed up, and she's like, you don't worry, man, or don't worry, honey, like we're gonna get through this. God's gonna get us through this. He's gonna be with us every step of the way. And then like the camera pans out and you see House. It's like, oh, I'm blushing. But seriously, get out of my way. I gotta get to work. And it's like, yeah, House is essentially what you're saying God's gonna do. That's gonna be House, and he will get none of the credit.
Well, sorry about that, man. That sucks. It would have been nice to hear, like, thank you very much for taking your time out, considering you were supposed to record a podcast with your best friend and get that out on time. But
that would have been ideal, but I guess he wasn't fully aware of my situation. And, like, it was raining, and I was in a hurry. Like, I could have stopped and been like, okay, listen, we got to talk about epistemologies. Let's talk about the difference between faith and knowledge and scientific method. But really, do just want a burger, and I'm not one of those, like, soup kitchens that makes you listen to a sermon before you get to eat. So just like, all right, thanks, bro, here you go, I'm out. So I don't know. I just thought that was funny. Any atheists out there, whenever you do something nice for people, just know that God's going to get some of that credit.
Hey, just if you teach a man to eat a burger, you feed him for one. If you teach him epistemology, you feed him for like, I don't know. Anyway,
he's like, I'm a critical thinker now, still homeless. Hierarchy of needs, man. Hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, still super hungry. So if you could get to that burger, that'd be great. Oh man, that's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. Was the thing. Oh, let me look at my sweet notes here. I actually wrote notes. I feel so smart. That's so good. Nice. Yeah. So also, first of all, we can't talk at all without mentioning the fact that apparently it's totally legal to get married as a gay person now. It's been bad. Even in Mississippi, yeah. But I mean, ever since that ruling went down, I've been just nonstop arguing with my wife. It's gone downhill. It's a slow degradation of our.
And marry me.
I know. This is the moment I've been waiting for.
It's legal. Let's do it.
The next one I'm waiting for is once hetero life partners gets the same rights. It's happening, man. Because
get hospital visitation rights for my platonic hetero life partner.
Yeah. I also like boobs, so no. That's a big deal. Man, how many people freaked out? Like, it took the governor of Texas, what was it, like 2 hours or something, to like be like, oh, you guys don't have to do that. You guys don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I've heard about that.
I've got a couple great tweets from random Christians. These come from whatwould.jt.com, our friend JT's webpage. And this one's great. Arkansas, our old home state of Arkansas, State Senator Jason Rapert. Here's his Facebook comment. Rights of minorities are not overruled by the whims of the majority. Welcome to America, Mr. Rapert. Okay, so that's actually a response to what he said. He said, we, the majority, grant you rights by choice.
What are you saying that? Like, I don't get it. Is he saying that?
So all these people talking about gay marriage, he's just like, well, we're the majority. We grant you your rights by choice. So shut the fuck up. This is the guy who wanted to impeach the judge who struck down the state's gay marriage ban, and who wants to install a Ten Commandments monument on the state capitol, and who was beside himself when there was a gay pride parade that was going to be held on Sunday. He took that as like a personal affront to Christianity. So now he's saying that the majority gives the minority their rights by choice. It's like, well, actually, the U.S. Constitution protects the rights of the minority. You're probably confused.
Yeah, and okay, whatever. This guy's a douchebag. I don't understand. Okay, so even if, let's say, you're a pragmatic douchebag, pragmatic bigot, whenever a train is like rolling into station and you can't help, you're like, well, this is gonna happen. Like, don't stand in front of it and be like, I'm gonna hold my hands out. Like, it's gonna happen. There's no I've seen the precedent. It's almost like this marijuana thing. Now that Oregon just legalized marijuana, you're like, I think I can see it in the cards now. I mean,
Yeah,
whenever people were like, yeah, it's probably just a matter of time, especially if we get another Democrat president. But with this in particular, like gay marriage, there's no moral precedent to stand on, but that can be debated. But now there's no legal precedent to stand on, and that can't be debated.
Yeah, it's just the way it is, except they do. Matt Barber of the Liberty Council has some of the greatest dumb tweets on that day. It makes a mockery of the institution of marriage, something of which God alone has the authority to design and define. Or evil has triumphed, for now at least, but not in the end, because God will not be mocked. Yeah, dude, JT gave a talk called God is an Idiot last year, and he's still doing just fine. He mocks him every day.
Yeah, pretty sure he will be. And it happened a lot in the Old Testament. Why didn't they call down some bears like Elisha, man, and just like strike down the Supreme Court justices? That's what I would have done if I was God. I would have been like, bitches, get some of that righteousness. You ain't never going to marry some gays.
Here's my favorite. Rainbow jihadists of SCOTUS blow up twin towers of truth and righteousness with a picture of the twin towers getting attacked.
Wow. That's fucked up.
It is, dude. He's comparing 3,000 people dying with, like, people being allowed to care for one another for the rest of their lives with legal protections.
And the irony is that those were religious fanatics. Those weren't, like, secular fanatics.
It's those people were on your side in this, dude. Like, they're all about no homosexuals.
Yeah, exactly. They would have been down with that.
Oh
my
God!
God!
So many great ones. There's so many great ones. Do not despair, my brothers and sisters, and hashtag Christ. I love hashtag Christ. For we who are God's children have already overcome. Hashtag love wins.
Oh, Spirit Santi, hashtag Christ. No, what's funny is how quickly people got on board with this. Like, I just did a Peachtree run. A Peachtree run is a run down in Atlanta, and we did the 10K, and it's just a huge event. Like, I don't know why people give a shit about watching people run. I don't, but people are just lying down the street in Atlanta, like cheering and freaking out. And there were so many flags that were, the rainbow flag above businesses, above people. There were runners that way. It was crazy, and people were like, yay! And then we ran by the churches by these two guys that were, they were painted as rainbows, with like goggles and rainbow all over their face. And occasionally, it'd be like, yay! Like there was like two churches. I can't remember what they were. Maybe it was Episcopal but it looked like one of them looked like they were Catholic. And guys were like, yeah, and waving at the people next to us. But then we run by one and it was just dead quiet. And I was like, pretty sure that's just some gay hate there. So that's the Church of Bigots. But ironically, though, there was a spout where, so in one of the Catholic churches, they throw holy water at you. I'm not kidding. Like, they've blessed it and everything. And then they also have a fountain that they've blessed.
Vampires?
Yeah, so just to test it, I was like, you never know if you're actually true in your conclusions. So me being a heathen, clearly, I'm going to go run under that fountain. And then so I had Amy take a picture, and I'm like, I'm not burning. So I made it. So whatever it is, God is okay with what I'm doing. I'll tell you that much. And I'm saying gay marriage is awesome.
Or water that's been murmured over by a pedophile doesn't hurt you. Could go either way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the only thing they add to those waters is typically like aphrodisiacs or roofies, probably. Yeah.
So, and the best freak out by far, Tim sent to us, and I'm gonna go ahead and attach it to the end of this episode because it just makes me. You know the word Schadenfreude, the German word.
Yeah.
This video makes me feel that. It's that joy you feel in the suffering of somebody else. And her tears are ambrosia to me. They're nectar from the gods, and I just want to drink them up. So there's an Indiana woman, some of you have already seen this, it's kind of gone viral since it went up, who just melts down. Did you see this one, Jeremiah?
Yeah. The lady with the huge Texas hair.
She loses her shit, and it's great. It's so much good. So we'll put that on the end of the show just for anyone who hasn't seen it yet to really just it's so. I sent it to my Anglican friends who are they're pro gay rights, pro everything, but they're always talking about how true Christians are this. No true Christian fallacy comes up a lot with them because whenever I talk about these kind of people, like, well, they're not real Christians. I'm like, well, they're in the majority, so maybe you're not the real Christians. But I was watching that with them, and they're like, we can't even finish this. I watched like 2 minutes, and it's just too much. I can't watch this. And I'm like, oh, I love it. It's freaking awesome. I love watching this bigoted worldview slowly die off, and I love the kicks and screams. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm a bad person, except I'm not. I bought an ex-convict a sandwich. That makes me a good person. But maybe I'm a dick, but I sure do love watching these people throw tantrums.
Yeah. Speaking of throwing tantrums, I imagine there was like millions maybe of people praying against this, decision, and it didn't seem to affect anything. Also, I couldn't help myself while I'm running. I see one of these. There was two doomsday preachers. One was like holding a huge red paper mache cross, because when you go cross, you want to go light so you don't suffer too much, right? I don't know. Anyway, he had a paper mache one, which is ironic because it was raining all over it and it was slowly melting. And I was like, I'm not sure if your message is exactly being blessed, but it was raining the entire time, which sucked. But then there's another guy who's holding the legit straight up Bible that's just getting rained all over, and he's like shouting doomsday stuff. And I was like, so I'm running, and I run kind of close to him because you're running through the streets, and I just make eye contact. And finally he looks at me and I go, "You?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I go, "Pray for no rain right now." And then he's like, he kind of just stands there for like 3 seconds, and I was like, "Make it happen." And we just kept running by, and then I kept doing that to whoever was shouting out of the side. I was like, "Pray for no rain." No one would do it. There's no damn well if they're going to do it, it's not going to stop, because it was pouring rain. And we were all miserable. Everybody running was miserable. There's like hundreds of thousands of people running. It's a huge race, and we're all miserable. Everyone standing outside, miserable. Lots of people from church just standing outside, miserable. We all want to stop raining, and the forecast called for 24% chance of rain. So if anything, you got chances on your side, right? So at least slap your hands together and be like, "Yeah, I will," and pray. Nobody would do it. And I knew they wouldn't. That's why I was calling him out in front of everybody. Don't pretend like you're going to, because I was like, why don't you pray for no one to get an injury? Because it's going to happen. The medical team's there for that. There's just so much people know.
God will not be mocked, Jeremiah. He will not be put to the test.
Yeah. Contradictory scriptures. But anyway, it's that's exciting. But what's shitty is I just came across a study. They did a little bit of a long-term study about the effects of okay, so something you said about people being religious last time, and the fact that they're big on family values. No, this was like 2 or 3 episodes ago. Mm-hmm. Being big on family values, but then acting in ways that clearly harm their family.
Right.
One of the things that people say that they typically like is like the state of life. The fact that don't take your own life, and then don't raise the quality of life of people in general, right? But they're clearly not doing that with LGBT couples. T wasn't measured in the study, but they looked at this is kind of a sobering effect. But this is, fortunately, some of this is behind us, not all of it, obviously. But they did a big old study about where they took, how many years? 12 years of compiled data on easily find, you can find this stuff on government sites, but from the public health sites. But they found that being LGBT, what they tried to figure out was, how much of being LGBT, lesbian, gay, or bisexual is these people having these bad outcomes. How much of that is some kind of weird, I don't know, genetic thing, or whatever, or how much of it is just psychosocial, right? Just having dickheads around you. Mm-hmm. So a good way to do that is to measure people who their neighborhoods have identified and voted a certain way, discriminatory, and then finding some that didn't, or communities that didn't, and then finding individuals within those communities, LGBT communities, or LGBT individuals within those communities, and then looking at the rates, right? Mm-hmm. And what they found was that there were significantly higher levels, of course, of bad predictors and prejudice communities, which you'd expect. But here's the crazy thing, because they're good data scientists, they controlled for already established risks of mortality, which includes household income, education, gender, ethnicity, age, average income of the overall neighborhood, because poor neighborhoods are going to have higher risks of those sorts of things than richer neighborhoods. And when you control for all, there's still a huge effect, with even observed between individuals with and without a high school education, which is another thing that you'd expect to be there. So by the end of the study, 90% of the LGBT respondents living in low prejudice communities were still alive. Good. So, low prejudice, they seem to get along. Everything's going great. In contrast, only 78% of the LGBT respondents living in high prejudice communities were still alive. So quite a few would die. Hey, let's tease that out. What's really going on? The average age at suicide was 37.5 in the high prejudice. So on average, people who were committing suicide were 37.5 who lived in high prejudice communities, so dickheads, right, surrounded by yokels, versus 55.7 in low prejudice communities. Also, homicides 3 times more likely in high prejudice communities. And that's not so there was higher risk, 25% more in cardiovascular disease, which is a lot of that has to do with stress. compared to 18.6% of deaths and low prejudice, etc. There's just a lot of shit that goes
You know
on.
what state has the highest rate of teen suicide among LGBT youth?
Texas? Mississippi.
Nope. Which church has been the loudest in their anti-gay rhetoric of late?
Westboro.
Well, which church has more than a few families?
I mean, probably one of the Baptist ones. I don't know.
Mormons.
Oh, that's sad.
Proposition 8, remember that?
Yeah.
Utah has the highest rate of teen suicide when it comes to LGBTs, and the highest rate of homeless teens because they get kicked out of their houses.
We talked about this on the value straight one. I just don't. There's zero chance that your teen is going to reform if you kick them out of the house. You know, and I'm not saying reform. I'm saying I'm taking the religious point of view, this bigoted point of view that you can somehow cure sexuality. Like if you're like, I've got to turn them back, then the only way you have a chance of doing that is by keeping them in the house, which is a horrible sentence for the teen. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm saying looking through their lens, it doesn't even make sense with their sick point of view.
Yeah, even being an idiot, they're not being smart.
Well said, sir. Well
they're dumb even for dumb people. But yeah, so
Indeed.
It's been fun. It's been fun. I've been liking. I'm still waiting for the pastors who promise to set themselves on fire and the couples who promise to get divorced if gay marriage ever became the law of the land. I'm still waiting for that to pan out. I mean, it wouldn't just be a publicity stunt or a vain, empty boast, right?
Yeah, of course not. I mean, they sincerely believe what they're saying.
And then some of them who are talking about like, oh, we have to defy this. We have to stand up against it. And it's like, how do you defy this? Just don't marry a gay person. Like you're already defying it. Like, no one's gonna come and tell you have to marry a dude. So that's the only scenario where I can think of. Like, just continue your life as if nothing happened. Really, is kind of how this affects.
It's hard to do. Hard to do whenever all of society's crumbling down and every heterosexual marriage is getting destroyed. So
yeah, just like
if you think about that. Oh, but you haven't seen anybody setting themselves on fire, but you do see the extenuation of this rhetoric of, you know, oh, now what's next? Dogs are going to get married? And I'm like, I don't give a fuck if dogs marry, whatever. Like, they don't make an income, so it's not like there's any point of marrying your dogs. But fine, whatever. Yeah, marry your dogs. It makes you happy. Or
polygamy, and here's the thing. Gay marriage has been the law of the land in Canada for 10 years, all over Western and Northern Europe. It's still not like dogs and cats getting married over there. I don't know why. And the other thing is, like, they're gonna force us to marry gay people in our churches. It's like, dude, you're Mormon. You don't even have to marry people who drink coffee in your temples. Like, the government has not forced you to marry anybody in your churches before. Why would they start now? It's just fear mongering, and I don't know. You have to laugh because it's sad otherwise.
Yeah, otherwise it's tears. Yes, but the title of the episode is Being Outed, right, as a non-believer.
Yes.
It's an interesting concept because I've heard people talk about this before, being outed, you know, but typically it has to do with being, you know, your sexuality, usually some sort of sexuality, you know, kind of deviance as compared to like the normal, you know, your bread and butter heterosexuality. Then, you know, you don't really want that to come out because there's a lot of people like, well, these people who are looking to judge you. But really it comes with really kind of any minority, including religious. Because I know that in particular, when we were at the American Atheist Convention, wearing the American Atheist shirt, we were very much discriminated against. Just walking down the street, smiling and saying hi. Like we were told by David Silverman, sorry. Daniel's the guy that was in the Lion's Den. This is a whole different guy. Yeah, that you know, just put on a positive face and, you know, show people that, you know, being an atheist isn't about just telling people that you don't believe what they believe and antagonizing them in arguments. So we did. We acted kind to everyone, and still we got just the worst vitriol kicked back at us. But we've talked about that before. But that's the sort of thing you can look forward to if you're outed by a lot of times. So a funny scenario happened with my wife at her work. She works in mental health, which is should be a little more should be pretty sensitive to this. Considering, you know, that's what but it's a kind of an outpatient community mental health setting. So community mental health isn't always, you know, the greatest. My wife is only working there because you can make a lot of money if you work well, if you do your job. And but anyway, they were sitting at a staffing meeting, and you know, it's one of these situations where they're like, hey, we got some pizza, let's sit down and, you know, eat some pizza and have a good time. So while they're sitting down, one of this, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But an individual gets up and says just out of the blue, just says, "Who here believes in a higher power?" And just raise their hands. So first of all, you don't do that in a professional setting at all.
Yeah.
But especially in mental health, where you're not allowed to talk about those sorts of things, and nor should you want to. But and what's worse is everybody's hand shoots up, except for hers, right? Because she was like, and she's sitting in the back and she's on her phone and she's like, okay, just keeps like clicking around on her phone, and then she's like, Amy, I noticed you didn't raise your hand, she says, and
what the hell?
her. Yeah, everybody turns around and they're like, oh, what? And then she's like, looks back down at her phone, keeps going, and then she goes, Amy, I noticed you didn't raise your hand, like 3 or 4 times.
These are mental health professionals.
Yeah, well, this was like a social worker, but yeah, not shitting on that. I'm just saying, like, we're taught to be sensitive to context. Yeah, it wasn't happening there. And then finally it was like, she was like, and you know, my wife just looks up and she goes, looks back down and she was like, oh. And then she goes, well, I was gonna pray. We'll just pray anyway. And she prayed anyway. So that's the point? Like,
what was the point of asking if you're like, anyway? And second of all, why are you opening your meetings with a prayer? You're not at the synagogue.
The synagogue. Exactly. You're not Congress, and even if you were, like, that's pretty shitty too. But I hate when people ask dumb questions like that. They're like, you're not. They ask these questions that like are no-win scenario. You know, like if she's like, why aren't you raising your hand? She's like, oh, I just forgot to. I don't know, like, or if you were gonna pray, if everyone was cool with it, but then everyone wasn't cool with it and you prayed anyway, then what's the point of asking? At least give some anonymity to someone who doesn't believe exactly the same way you do. But no, there was none of that. I don't, man, and what an embarrassing moment. Like, you know, there's a lot of people who believe you can't have morals without having a direct, you know, phone line to someone who never answers their phone call, but you can pretend they do. Right. And so, yeah, that's really shitty for someone who's just trying to exist and, you know, blend in for a while. But you know, particularly,
that's one thing I like about working for the government. Like, they're a lot more careful about. I mean, they're not super careful. Like, JT's entire job was like tracking down schools who were preaching religion on campus. But you know, it's nice. It's nice knowing that there's 2 atheists at that school, and one of them is the principal, and the other one's me. So I don't feel I have to worry about that too much.
Nice.
But yeah, even though, like, you know, we get like seminars at the beginning of the year, like, hey, you know, like, don't get on Facebook with your students, you know, don't you know, just do's and don'ts of how to be a teacher. And they're always very careful, like, hey, you know, you can't bring religion into it. We're a public institution. There's a separation of church and state. You know, you could be setting us up for a lawsuit from the Freedom of Religion Foundation. Like, they're very careful about it. So normally that doesn't come up, but sometimes in their little motivational pep talk meetings, you know, where they're trying to train the teachers, they'll be like, all right, look to your left and look to your right. You probably don't know those people. Go ahead and introduce yourself. You know, that kind of garbage. Why do people do that? I hate that. But yeah, they're like, now I want you to turn to someone. I want you to say, like, what is the most important thing to you? What defines you as a person? I'm like, oh, good. You know, that's setting it up. That's like the alley-oop. And so sure enough, like, they're like, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I guess the most important thing to me is my relationship with Jesus Christ. It's just so sad. Like, your most important thing is, like, your relationship with your imaginary friend. And I'm just like, cool, bro. That's nice. My most important thing is my relationship with reality. And no, I'm just, you know, like, what do you say to that? So I don't know. Even in places that are highly controlled, like, religion finds a way to creep in. It kind of takes over your whole identity, I think. People just don't see it as something that you have to separate because it's, like, such a big part of who they are.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just behavioral psychology. If you've never been punished for that, and you're constantly reinforced, if you're like, hey, Thor means a lot to me. He's a big deal. I dedicate every second of every day to talking to him. And if people are like, the fuck, like, you wouldn't say that anymore. And then, but if people are like, yes, Thor is what makes us awesome. Like, it's clearly.
That's why I've started responding with my Liamism. I'll just be like, that's great. You know, I have a very special relationship with Liam Neeson. I believe that he is our God and Savior, and I just feel a sense of peace. And they kind of look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, what? I have a special relationship with him. Does he ever talk to you? No, but I talk to him all the time. And, like, they get, like, a little uncomfortable, and I'm like, well, it's cool. We can talk about religion, and they just always change the subject. So maybe that's what I have to start doing more. No, Liam, bless you too. Liam Neeson.
He's got a very specific set of skills, and saving your soul is not one of them.
You know what he never does? Turn the other cheek. That's a bitch move. He tracks you down and he makes you pay.
It would be a whole different movie if you just sat on the recliner.
No, he picked up the phone. I don't know who you are, but I forgive you. Click. And then
click. Just credits. Scroll.
The rest of the movie is just his daughter getting sold to slavery.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you this much: if I had a daughter and she got stolen, then yeah, I'd want Liam Neeson on the case, not Jesus. He'd be like,
Jesus,
that's cool.
just forgive him.
Whatever. Yeah, he's like, that's fine, man. Whatever, you can come eat with me.
You know, if you have no sin, you can throw the first stone. You're like, I've never kidnapped and raped anybody. And like, well, yeah, but you were prideful. So
you were super rude to that barista who got your name wrong. I'm like,
I said no sin of any kind.
Damn it.
Well, that kind of excludes everybody. I guess your whole system kind of falls apart.
Yeah, he's like, well, I mean, but yeah, I mean, I've feared this quite a lot myself. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like the client's somewhat similar where you're from, but I know that. I mean, these, and I hate when people are like, someone put up a Facebook status that said like, "Hey, listen, you're gay. I'm cool with that. It's just another sin, right? I have my sins too." And like I'm totally cool with that. You know, just you living in sin, but everyone's living in sin. I should be okay to just say that. And I'm like, okay, you okay to say that, but just like if you go to a truck stop and you're like, truckers are little bitches, you're probably gonna pay for it. It's illegal. You can do that. Cops are gonna be like, well, okay, you can say it, but you're gonna get beat the shit out.
There are consequences to your freedom of speech. Like the government won't arrest you, but you might have some social consequences.
Ironically, their inability to grasp the idea of freedom is also gets in their way of speech just as well as it does freedom of will, right? Free will. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, you're free to like choose between a banana and an orange should those two things be in front of you, but you're not free to make up a third option. Like, oh my gosh, hold on, someone's knocking, so you can continue.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a mess, but I enjoy the sort of, I don't know, I like to see the country going in the direction it's going because these bigots and these hate mongers are kind of being called out on it finally. Like even that idea of love the sinner, hate the sin, like we all have sins, you know, like that's progressive for a Christian, but you're still saying something intrinsic to you is sinful and like despicable towards God, which is a kind of a dick move.
Yeah.
Like if I said like Liam Neeson hates you, or he hates this thing about you, like he doesn't like that you're Canadian, like you're gonna be upset, right? Even though Liam clearly hates Canadians, like it's not like a nice thing for me to say to you.
Yeah. And if somebody's just like walking out to get their mail, and I'm like, hey, walking out to get your mail is an abomination, and they're like, what the fuck? And I'm like, hey, that's okay. I masturbate to your sister, so it's fine. Like we all do things wrong.
Dude, I raped a girl once. We all have sins. And you're like, this is not the same. I'm not hurting anybody.
Yeah, I'm just living my life. I just want to get my fucking mail. And you're like, yeah, I know, and I just want to get off, you know, so no big deal. And you're like, well, no, yours is wrong. Like, yes, you have these things that you call sins that are wrong, but I'm just getting my mail. And it's like, yeah.
I think part of it too is that atheists have such a bad reputation. You know, like everyone thinks Dr. House when they think atheists. Like, oh, you're a grumpy misanthrope who hates everybody. You're like, yeah. You know who else was a famous TV atheist? Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly, the captain, also an atheist. He was pretty nice guy. Had a code of honor. Like I don't know. Everybody kind of gravitates to that angry dick misanthrope persona. Like there was a girl I met the other day, and she said that she was surprised when she met me because I was so polite and kind, and she was expecting someone kind of mean and misanthropic. And I'm like, she's like, yeah, I was expecting a genius misanthrope the way they described you. They said you were really smart and you were an atheist. I'm like, no, that's House. He's not a real person. Like most atheists are pretty nice.
Yeah, and yeah, that's to do with cognitive biases too. How you'll dismiss like what you consider an outlier, right? And then based on your philosophical understanding of something, like let's say I think that all skinheads are dickheads, which is probably true. I don't know. I've never met a skinhead, but you know, some kind of like neo-Nazi guy. But then like somebody comes over and they're like, "Hey, 2 cookies," and they're next door, and you're like, "Oh, thanks, man." And they're like, "Also, fuck Jews," and I'd be like. Like I would probably dismiss him as an outlier, right? Even though, what if I was wrong? What if being like a super racist dick doesn't make you also, you know, a dick to your fellow, your white majority friends? Exactly. And so, like, if you're defined by like your antithesis to a certain position, then yeah, I mean, you're that's going to be most obvious, or both obvious, yeah, whenever you're in an argument. But as it turns out, there's lots of people who blend in and never say anything. I can't tell you how many messages I get like in quiet if I post something and someone's like, yeah, I totally believe the same way. Cool that you said it. And then that's all I hear from them, right? But then there's no likes on my status. There's no nothing. And even though people are like arguing with me, nothing happens. It's because that, it's difficult to be quote unquote outed and deal with the consequences, especially on Facebook where like, I've got a secular tag that I put on things because if I just put out anything and I'm just like, hey, who's dicks? Christians. Like 90% of my Facebook page would say something horrible about it.
Yeah. On Facebook the other day, I posted a thing about gay marriage saying like, hey, if this is a problem, then it probably doesn't affect you. That cracked article. It's like this is how your world will be after gay marriage. Are you straight? Doesn't change. Are you straight and religious? Doesn't change. Are you gay? Now you can get married. Like it's basically like that. And like the day after I put that up, my aunt she's on Facebook, I guess, and she's just like she sends me a message. In your heart, are you as anti-God and religion as you like to publicly portray on Facebook? Just curious. Like. Maybe I should start filtering it out because I'm like, wait, anti-God and religion? I just said I was in favor of gay marriage. Is that the same thing? She's like, well, you just seem to slam religion generally, and I'm not concerned about your stance on gay marriage. I'm like, well, I feel like you might be because I'm very careful about what I put on Facebook. I'm not like out to stir up trouble. I just like to show gay people that I support them, but apparently that equates to like hating God in the minds of many people.
Yeah.
I am anti-church and religion, but that's not what my post said.
But I didn't say it. Yeah, exactly. I never get upset when people land a conclusion, the correct conclusions for false premises all the time. I'm still gonna slam the logic, but technically you're right. I don't like religion, but it's been. I spent this last weekend down in Georgia. We were going to this like little race thing to do. It's just like a stupid good time. You like drink beer while you're running, so it's not it's not a race. It's just a fun run. Mm-hmm. So we were down there and we spent a good deal of time. First of all, two things. Announcements. Sorry, I should have put this at the top of the show. Two announcements. First of all, go watch Inside Out. Have you seen that?
No, I've stopped being excited about Pixar movies a long time ago. Like The Incredibles was the last Pixar movie I got really excited for.
Okay. So then just do me a favor and just take a step back and then literally fuck your own face. That's from Tropic Thunder. But anyway, by best character that Tom Cruise ever played. No, it's awesome. It's amazing. It's clearly written by some psychological people who are on staff, psychologists who have been on staff, because it's very like the whole time I was watching, I was like, Amy, look. They didn't make room for the joy, and therefore, like you're inhibited by your limbic system. See, so then you can't have the sadness and things like that. So it was really like consistent with literature, minus one single part, which added.
Is it something that I would enjoy without having kids?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I honestly haven't cried in a movie in a long time. Almost like I was seriously going, so I wouldn't cry because there's some deals in there, but it's good and it teaches you a lot about like. CBT, basically, cognitive behavioral therapy. But second of all, Common Sense. Have you listened to the most recent one with Dan Carlin, his podcast?
Is that the one where he interviews Sam Harris?
Yes. That's awesome. You need to go listen to that. So that any of our secular audience, I think you'll literally love that. And Tim just messaged me. He liked the fuck your own face thing. Let me see. Okay, there's that. That aside, that was just an intro thing I forgot to add in there. And I forgot what we were talking about. But being out, that's the point of the episode. Remember that.
Yes.
For sure. Oh, yeah, no, I was spending time down there. And the entire time, I just felt like there was... people say things on accident, and maybe we should do a whole episode on this, but, just call it like dick holes on accident. Don't do these things. Like, they said things like, yes, so-and-so. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard of so-and-so. And they're like, they've got a new boyfriend. And I'm like, oh, great. How is he? Oh, he's good. He's a physician. And I'm like, good. Physicians make good money. He's probably dedicated if he made it through med school. And they're like, yeah, but he's a non-Christian. So who knows if he's even about marriage, It could not be. And I was like, I'm literally right in front of you, and I'm a marriage therapist. Could you please not make those sorts of sweeping generalizations? Like, that's so rude. And I'm married to your daughter. Like, I don't know. It's just
still married, by the way, not divorced, which is beating the odds on most Christian marriages.
Yeah, I literally fix marriages every week, or that's my job. I'm supposed to do it, but I do okay. And anyway, I just these unfalsifiable premises, and a lot of things like that happened a lot. A lot of people call them microaggressions, which I don't like that term because aggression implies intent. I study aggression, but and it's not there with most people. They're just being jerks on accident.
Right.
But still, you get the idea. Unpurposeful kind of offenses towards someone. It's the worst. But anyway. What are the thoughts you have about this?
That's about it for me. I mean, we've sort of nailed this one to the ground. Don't be dicks. Don't out people if they don't want to be outed. And I don't know, pick your battles. If some guy just wants a burger and you're trying to teach him about why there's no God, maybe save that lesson until he gets the burger. I don't know. But
yeah. Otherwise,
there's a balance between like you want to be out because you want those people who secretly message you on Facebook to know that it's okay to come out, but you don't want to be aggressively, a dick about it to where you forget about other needs that are more important.
Oh, there was one point that I think is worth bringing up. Lastly, is that a lot of times people will do this inadvertently too, being an inadvertent dickhole, right? By saying like, let's say you've got like you're someone around your group of white folks, and you've got like your friend who's an African American. All of a sudden, you ask him to like answer for the whole race. Have you experienced that? They're like, how do black people feel about that? I hate that. And
there's a line on the Community where they're talking to Troy, like Shirley's talking to Troy, and she's like, well, won't that be weird if like we're the black people and we betray the team because we're doing like a paintball alliance? And he's like, I'm here to win, not to be an ambassador. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Sometimes just because someone's part of a minority doesn't make them the ambassador for their entire race or ethnicity or religion. Like, I don't want to have to be. I know, like Silverman was saying, like, be nice. Show everybody that you're nice. Atheists are nice. It's like, no, atheists just don't believe in God. Like, I don't want to have to always be the super nice, polite person all the time so that everyone gets a good first impression. I mean, you end up having to do that, and it doesn't really bother me. But just don't assume everyone is a representative of their thing.
Yeah, and with that said, though, I mean that's part of being outed. Is you suddenly get this incredible mantle to like be like imagine like someone like Jacqueline Glenn or one of these like famous atheist people, like Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris. Suddenly they're representing the whole movement, and I'm like, yeah, it kind of runs the gamut. Actually, someone was asked on stage at the last convention whether she believed in like psychic powers, and she was like, yeah, and I was like, as an atheist, and I was like, that's not representative of the whole movie. I don't know why she.
Right. Well, we specifically don't have a pope or a prophet or a grand imam or a grand poobah or we don't have like a one man or woman who represents atheism. So it's just. It sucks because being outed kind of makes you that person for everyone around you, but I don't know. Maybe that's just part of being a minority right now.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So hopefully that was a good episode. Being outed in general sucks, hopefully, or some people just rather enjoy that limelight of being, that kind of thing. And good on you guys. So anyway, thanks for joining us for this episode. I think next week or the following week, we're going to have Russell Glasser on. Hopefully, he already agreed to come on. It's just a matter of scheduling, and we'll get that scheduled and put up. And for our live viewers, thanks for joining in. And for everyone else, we put our faces on again. Oh, wait, feedback section. Forgot about this. We got a little bit of feedback. We got an iTunes review, which is cool. Don't think we've read it already. Stop me if we did. By Tommy. Did we read that one?
I don't think so.
Okay. It says these two 5 stars. Thank you very much for dropping this in. Really appreciate it. Tommy, or also called Metago Fanboy. These two are always good to listen to. Great chemistry. Regardless of the topic, it's fun to hear what they have to say. So thank you for that review. Those are always helpful. And it always ups some kind of algorithm on the iTunes thing. I don't know what I'm talking about. I know algorithm's a fancy word, so I'm going to use it. I don't know what that does. So appreciate that. Thanks for the 5 stars. Even if it wasn't 5 stars, we still appreciate it. Also, we got what was it? We got some feedback on the couple of Facebook pages. One of them just said your faces, because we put our faces on again. So we can never do a no camera episode again.
You got to get our ugly mugs out there.
Yeah, and another one. Man, I lost it. I closed the thing, and I feel like a jerk. Oh well, said something about something, and they were happy about the thing. Thanks, someone. It was a random internet person.
Keep sending the feedback. We appreciate it.
Yeah. We clearly appreciate it. We will read it live on air. Yeah, so appreciate that. And turns out the Mormons stopped by while I was recording this, so I missed them again.
Fun. Well, I'm going to play us out with the Indiana woman epic meltdown over same-sex marriage. So, yeah, Just enjoy it and love it. Love it.
See you guys.